amazing lineup. So let's get on with it. Today, we're going to be talking about MTHFR mutation and thyroid health. We're also going to be talking about mimicking MTHFR mutation and how the thyroid health can really impact the function of the methylation pathway. There's going to be a lot of material, some big words, but we'll be able to get through it together. I do want to just express that the information presented in this lecture is for informational purposes only. The products and information are not intended to cure, treat, or diagnose, and this information does not replace the care and instruction of your licensed medical professional. All right, so a little bit about me. My name is Tracey Sroup. I'm a naturopathic doctor, certified natural health professional. I started out in the area of exercise and sports science. I have a degree in exercise and sports science from Penn State University. I went back and got my level 2 digestive specialist certification from the Food Enzyme Institute. I've been in the field about 25 years, so I love it. I'm also a speaker, a writer, and educator. I work exclusively with Nutritional Frontiers on their educational program. I'm also a wife, a mom of 2 little boys, and I'm a lover of Jesus. So that's where my background comes from and where you'll see me express myself from. I will keep this video up on my phone as well so I can answer your questions in real time as they come up, but I will save some space at the end to take questions one-on-one. So, is the methylation pathway the reason that your thyroid is dysfunctional, or is it your thyroid dysfunction that's creating a dysfunction in the methylation pathway? This is kind of a chicken or the egg type of thing. And today we're really going to unwind this. So MTHFR and thyroid health. If there's a deficiency or a conversion issue within the thyroid, there will be a methylation issue. So if you have diagnosed thyroid issues or suspect either hypo or hyper, you're going to have issues with methylation. And we're going to get into what is methylation here in a minute. And this is actually due to the conversion rate levels of a vitamin called B2, which in the most bioavailable form is known as FAD. So your body has to break down B2 to FAD in order for you to optimize and use it within the methylation pathway and keep that pathway running at an optimal level. Some key nutrients for the thyroid, as we know, are magnesium and iodine, especially selenium, zinc, tyrosine, iron, but also the B vitamins are very essential, B2, B3, and B6, which this comes from eating foods or taking quality supplements that you can actually find at the Weiner Wellness Center. So methylfolate, which is our most bioavailable folic acid, reduced down, right, is produced by the MTHFR enzyme. So it's actually converted from folic acid to folate. And we need this to help convert tyrosine, which is the active thyroid hormone. So as you can see, methylation and the conversion of folic acid to methylfolate can also impact thyroid health. So let's say you have a diagnosed MTHFR mutation. We now know that it can impact your thyroid either in a hypo or hyper situation. So if there is an issue with methylation, there will be an impact on the thyroid. So does thyroid health impact methylation, or does methylation impact thyroid health? The answer is yes. And again, it's a chicken or the egg kind of syndrome. So we're going to really take a look and break this down today. But first, I want to talk a little bit about what is MTHFR, right? I've talked about this a lot in the past. I think it's a very broad topic. I also think that people get a bit lost on all the polymorphisms. Really, we're going to break it down to simplicity today. I don't want to get into all the polymorphisms and the different things that can arise from having those specific mutations, but I do want to talk about the impact of the simple fact of conversion. And whether you have an MTHFR mutation or not, this can impact your health. Meaning, people without a confirmed mutation, their methylation pathway, which is what the MTHFR gene codes, that entire pathway, can be impacted simply from having too much stress, not enough sleep, or too much toxicity in your system. So even if you are not confirmed MTHFR mutation, this still affects you and concerns you, so it would be to your benefit to pay attention and listen what we can do about this. So the MTHFR gene produces an enzyme which is responsible for the conversion of folic acid to methylfolate, the most bioavailable form, so that our body can use that folate in the methylation pathway cycle as energy to create cool little methyl groups that your body will then use to combine with an amino acid and create new and healthy cells, or create a major antioxidant called glutathione. So your two primary functions of methylation are cellular repair and detoxification. If you have an impact of some sort or a decrease of function in this pathway, you cannot create new and healthy cells as well, and you cannot detoxify as well. So again, the mutation is a major contributor to that because you can have reduction in your methylation pathway by up to 70%. But also people that don't have the mutation can still be impacted. Lifestyle, stress, sleep, again, toxicity will all impact methylation and make it very hard for you to repair your cells, produce healthy cells, and then further detoxify the body. So a fairly large portion of the population, though, has a mutation in this gene, and they're measuring it up to 40 to 50% of the population is now impacted by this MTHFR mutation. And there's so many enzymes within this process. Again, we're not getting into all the nitty-gritty of MTHFR and what it is, but just know that it is part of every human body, every human cycle to make new and healthy cells and create detoxification. So the primary goals, as I said, convert folic acid to folate, create new and healthy cells in the pathways of your DNA, your RNA, your immune system, hormones, and your neurotransmitters. And your neurotransmitters are your communication pathways, right? They're your feel-good hormones. They're how your body tells nutrient need or motor skill function. So you can have a dysfunction in a lot of these neurotransmitter pathways, but also this is a big contributor to mood, you know, anxiety, depression, any type of mood differentiation. This also repairs and creates new cells. And then detoxification through the production of glutathione, our major antioxidant. So those are the big things. Now, within MTHFR mutation, you can have all kinds of polymorphisms from the 677T, which is the most studied, and up to 70% reduction when you have two, when you have one from mama and one from daddy. So you're what are called homozygous, right? If you have one from one parent and a healthy allele on the other, it's not as impactful, but it still is expressive, which means you are demonstrating some sort of decrease in function somewhere. 1298C, when you only have one copy, it usually means you're not expressive, you don't have the symptoms, but when you have two copies, which is homozygous, then we know that you can be expressive. And then you can have a copy of the 677 and the 129, and we call that a heterozygous compound. This is chronic disease. Now, I don't want this slide to give you no hope, because the beautiful thing about all the innovation and the biohacking that we now do, we now have more science to back the fact that if we eat a healthy, you know, nutrient-dense diet, live a healthy lifestyle, get our sleep, and things of that nature, as well as new innovations in technology, which is amazing, right? Then we can really discover that we can biohack this and we can get around the mutation. So that's what we're going to learn today. All right, let's talk about MTHFR impact on thyroid. So the polymorphisms, as we talked about, can cause an issue with detoxification. So this comes down to chemicals, right? And immune health, factors that can contribute to the development of autoimmune. And there's been numerous studies on autoimmune, heavy metals, overgrowth of candida, parasitic activity. Again, I'm not going to get into all those. Those are complete separate lectures. But what we have found is that with the 677T homozygous, remember one copy from mom and one copy from dad, this is the most impactful on your thyroid health. And so we really need to look at this. So if you know that you have a diagnosed 677T, a homozygous, then it would be very beneficial for you to really take care of the thyroid now before you see symptoms arise from thyroid dysfunction. So any type of chemicals, especially from the halide groups like fluoride, chlorine, bromine, and where do you find these? You find them in your tap water, your drinking water, plus all the pharmaceutical residues in your drinking water. These are going to interfere with your iodine levels because they literally have the same electron transport that can mimic iodine and be connected to the receptor on that, you know, positive and negative connection. So we're exposed to these chemicals on a regular basis, and unless you're taking steps to minimize your exposure, they can be very harmful. So people with the MTHFR polymorphism, you have a harder time detoxifying these chemicals. You can't get it out of your system as well, and it's going to impact your thyroid greater than the average person who doesn't have an MTHFR mutation of the 677. So if we're looking at this entire spinny wheel, right, this is important just because I'm going to break this down a little bit and keep into your mind this little circle right here of BH2 converting to BH4 and what that means. And the pathway here that it takes it down into dopamine, epinephrine, norepinephrine, the pathway here of tryptophan, all the way down to serotonin, creating those feel-good hormones, right? And then we have some nitric oxide production, right, that comes off, and we know that's very healthy for us to have. And then over here, we have a good dietary source of folic acid. This is where your folate comes in. And then we get our thyroid. So all of this pathway, the entire thing matters. And we just want to really keep in mind this BH2 conversion to BH4 and why it's going to impact us. So B9 is actually required to take this BH4 and increase it. And basically what happens is it turns BH2 to BH4. And then this is actually a cofactor that's necessary for tryptophan to then be converted into tyrosine, which is a neurotransmitter to serotonin and dopamine, okay? So what happens is when there's lower levels of methylfolate or active folate, so if you have an MTHFR mutation and you can't convert as adequately your folic acid to folate, you're going to have lower levels of methylfolate because you just can't get enough from your food or your vitamins that aren't already bioavailable, right? So what happens is this biopterin, this BH4, right, which is needed to convert tyrosine into the most active form needed for the formation of thyroid hormones. So this is your pathway. BH2 converted to BH4, that is then converted into tyrosine, that is then converted into your most active form of your thyroid hormones. So if you have a methylation pathway issue, an MTHFR mutation, this entire process can be impacted up to 70% dysfunction, which means it can impact your thyroid health by 70%. And not in a positive way, right? I wish things would impact our health in a 70% positivity. So as Dr. Ben Lynch would say, genes load the gun, but environment pulls the trigger. So we're talking about an abundance of toxicity. We're talking about a deficiency in this pathway from MTHFR mutation to T4, T3, right? We're talking about the conversion pathway of the T3, T4s in the thyroid that just isn't happening because we have a deficiency in methylfolate. So even if you've never had thyroid issues or it's not in your genetics, you can still have thyroid issues if you have an MTHFR mutation, especially if you're looking at the 677T homozygous. So it's a good idea to take steps now to protect yourself, right? Get rid of those halide chemicals and other toxins. Make sure you're getting adequate nutrients in the right forms. And that's the most important thing for people that have MTHFR mutation, to get the right form of nutrients. You don't want to be taking a synthetic folic acid. So now let's go to the other side. Let's go to the chicken or the egg, whichever way you want to look at it. Let's start with what we know about the thyroid. And let's say you're a person that does not have an MTHFR mutation, right? So you have had your alleles tested, you're perfectly clear, but you still have a thyroid issue. And maybe you knew that. Maybe you're diagnosed Hashimoto's or Graves', which would be either hypo or hyper. Maybe you have a hypothyroidism problem or a hyperthyroidism problem, but it's not an autoimmune issue. What do we know about your thyroid? Well, we know that the thyroid loves iodine and that levels matter, right? You need 6 to 7 milligrams for your thyroid alone. Your breast health then for women, and pay attention ladies, because this is important, it's 6 to 7 milligrams for your breast health. So if your breast health is not getting enough iodine, guess where it's going to strip from? It's going to take from your thyroid, because we know from studies that iodine therapy is now being used to prevent breast cancer. Because what happens when we're not getting enough iodine in the breast tissue is that we can have a mutation in cells. So we absolutely have to have enough iodine for both breast and thyroid. So you're looking at anywhere from 12 to 14 milligrams a day to support both thyroid and breast health. And toxicity matters. We talked about that. I did an entire seminar on the impact of high estrogen or toxicity, things like chlorine, how it decreases iodine absorption, before with our professional training event. So we know the impact of high estrogen and the inability to convert hormones. All of those things will impact your thyroid health. So here's what it looks like if we take a look at the big picture, right? We got chlorine, we got bromine, we have fluoride, halogens. These mimic the charge of the electrons, that same charge that iodine looks like. So it'll attach to the receptor and take the place of the iodine. So even if you're taking enough iodine, if you're exposing yourself to these halogens, these toxins, it's going to take the place. So you really have to minimize the exposure to toxins, right? We know that this can decrease the conversion of T4 to T3. We know they can inhibit proper production of thyroid hormones. It can do all kinds of things that just keep your thyroid in a state of discomfort and dysfunction. And so we need both the deficiency cleared, and we also need the toxicity minimized. So we also know that high estrogen, heavy metals, and deficiency can all lead to more things such as hyperthyroidism. Excess estrogen, can lead to the degeneration of the thymus gland, and then you can start to produce antibodies, and then we're getting into extreme autoimmune issues such as Hashimoto's or Graves'. So hyperthyroidism, hypo, Hashimoto's, Graves', and even cancer of the thyroid is the cascade that can actually occur when we have deficiency or toxicity. Now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how will that impact now the methylation pathway, right? Because even with an undiagnosed or a cleared record of not having MTHFR mutation, this little dysfunction of the thyroid has what we call a mimicking MTHFR effect in the body. So there's an estimated 20 million Americans that have some form of thyroid disease, and up to 60% of those with thyroid disease are unaware that they have the issue. Now, disease, right, is a state of chronic inflammation that primarily you can't reverse. I like to think most of these issues are acute and are deficiency or toxicity issues. And once we fill the gaps and remove the toxins, we have a better chance of getting the thyroid to function again. So, there is hope when we have these different diseases of the body. I'm just taking a break here to look at the question. So there's some questions on mutations and the benefit of genetic testing first. I'm going to get back to all your questions, so hang tight, guys, okay? Because we're going to clear that up in the end. All right, so if your thyroid is underactive, let's just go with a hypothyroid scenario first, right? When you have lower levels of thyroid hormone, T4, your body converts T4 to T3, and those who have an underactive thyroid, right, they're mostly prescribed the T3. So they just go right around that conversion. They kind of biohack it with medication. And normally that'll work. So they bypass T4. But here's the issue. Because while you may be supporting your thyroid medically with a pharmaceutical, you have bypassed T4, and T4 has a really important job with methylation. Actually, T4 is involved in the process of making B2, FAD, the most bioavailable form of B2, which is FAD. If you don't have enough T4, or you're going around it with a medication and you really don't care about it, you can't convert B2 to FAD, and that will reduce your supply. So why do we care about that? Well, if you don't have enough FAD, your MTHFR enzyme, the guy that is responsible for communicating and coding the amount of cellular repair you need, the amount of folic acid conversion to folate you need, and the amount of glutathione you need, detoxification, slows down, which means everything slows down. Your cellular repair slows down, your detoxification slows down, your DNA, RNA, immune system, hormones, and neurotransmitter productions slow down. So you're going to be affected broad spectrum. Even if your thyroid levels are testing fine, you now have what we call a mimicking MTHFR issue, or methylation pathway issue. So while it may not be a diagnosed polymorphism, your body's still acting like it, right? So thyroxine regulates the conversion of riboflavin to FAD, and thyroid disorders lead to FAD deficiency. And we just saw that cascade, how it happens, right? We go around T4, we still don't have enough T4, and when we don't have that, we don't have enough FAD. When we don't have enough FAD, we don't have enough methylfolate. And so we mimic an MTHFR polymorphism. Pretty amazing, isn't it, how the body works? So if you have less thyroid hormone, you're going to have things like Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism, right? And you're not producing enough FAD, so the MTHFR slows down. Now, what does that mean for toxicity? Well, when your detoxification slows down, your conversion of the byproduct, and guys, every system in your body is going to have a waste product, right? So if you're working out and you're lifting weights, your byproduct to lifting weights is lactic acid. You get that muscle burn, right? That's lactic acid production. But your body's really smart. It's going to use NAD and NADH, and it's going to convert that lactic acid and throw it back into the Krebs cycle, and you're going to be able to sustain and maintain and keep going in your workout. And it's an amazing biological process of the body. Well, with methylation, this is the byproduct. It's called homocysteine, and it gets thrown off when we're starting to convert methyl groups and convert amino acids and, you know, the combination of methyl groups. So this is kind of a byproduct. But your body's smart. It's going to recycle this and reuse it. Some of it gets taken back and creates SAMe. Some of it then gets taken with B6 and acetylcysteine and gets converted to what's called glutathione. And glutathione is your major antioxidant in the body. It's amazing because if you had enough glutathione optimally and you lived in a bubble with no toxicity and had a perfect lifestyle, you could take out any viral infection, you could take out any heavy metal, offset anything. The issue is none of us have optimal, glutathione levels. So when you have low FAD and slow MTHFR, right, methylation pathway, you are going to have higher levels of this waste product, homocysteine, because your conversion of homocysteine to glutathione is now reduced and slowed down. And your conversion of homocysteine back up into the methionine cycle to create SAMe is now slowed down and reduced. So homocysteine just starts to build up. And what does that look like? Well, for cardiovascular disease, that's what they check, are homocysteine levels in the blood, because it's a byproduct and it shouldn't be there. We don't want high homocysteine. We do need some homocysteine. It's not a bad guy, but we don't want high levels. So this process is really important because not only are you experiencing deficiency, but now you have an added toxicity of homocysteine in the blood. But what if we're the other way? What if you're a hyperthyroidism person? What if you have Graves? Well, the opposite would occur. You're going to produce more FAD than your body really needs, and your MTHFR enzyme is going to activate faster, which means all your processes are going to be faster. Everything's going to speed up. Your detoxification is going to speed up, which means that byproduct, that homocysteine, is going to convert too fast. It's going to decrease homocysteine in your body so low that you can't produce enough SAMe. Now, why do we care about SAMe? Well, that's what makes us calm down, right? And people that are over methylators, I always go back and check their thyroid health. I always go back and check their FAD levels. I always ask more questions about things because I hear that term over methylation a lot. And so I'm going to ask about high estrogen or heavy metals, because all of those things can actually interfere with the thyroid process, the conversion of FAD, and leading you to autoimmune issues. So if you see an overmethylator, it might be a good idea as a practitioner to test the thyroid for not only TSH levels, which isn't enough, and we're going to talk about that, but for your antibody production. You need to know if they're converting too fast and that their homocysteine levels are too low. So we do need some homocysteine, guys. We need the production of SAMe and glutathione. And when you don't have enough, when it gets converted too fast, well, then your SAMe suffers because everything's being burnt out and converted. So just keep in mind that even a Graves or hyperthyroidism can impact the methylation pathway by making that process happen too fast and homocysteine levels drop too quickly. All right, but your thyroid test is normal, right? You're just crazy. That's usually what we hear. So it's important to be aware that the standard test for thyroid health is TSH. And if it's within a normal rate, most people are just kind of like brushed off. Like, yeah, your thyroid's fine. It must all be in your head. You know, maybe you just need more sleep. Maybe you're stressed out. Maybe so, but maybe not. So the current normal range of TSH, which is debatable, by the way, because everybody's an individual. I mean, how long ago was it that we talked about vitamin D levels in the blood being at 30? And now they're recommending they want them up to 60 to 90. So if science is ever evolving, we need to really look at the science and the data from far back to today with all these contributing factors of MTHFR mutation, more toxicity in our world, more estrogens in our world, and all the things that can impact our methylation pathway. We can't just stay with the data that we once had because science is ever evolving, right? So when we're looking at the presence of reverse T3, which competes with natural T3, we have to really look at the fact that TSH is not enough. We need more testing. We need to know the conversion. We need to know the antibodies. So ask for more. Ask your doctor to give you more so that you can really work with a practitioner that can help you. And here's some just little indicators on the face, on the neck, that can be a sign to you that something's wrong with your thyroid, even if your tests are coming back normal, right? Because it can happen. If you look at the top left picture, we see the eyes, the eyebrows at the end are diminishing. If you look at the neck of people right here, you can see that there's lines, there's a space, there's two lines. You can see things that are popping out like goiters. All these are visual indicators, and they should require you to ask more questions as a practitioner or to get more testing. We need to know what's going on the inside because your body speaks. So we now know that both, if you have an MTHFR mutation, diagnosed polymorphism, it's going to impact your thyroid. We also know that if you have a thyroid issue, it's going to impact your methylation pathway, regardless if you have a polymorphism diagnosis or not. But think about it. If you have the 677T homozygous, you know your thyroid's impacted, but now you know, not only is your methylation pathway impacted due to the polymorphism, now it's further impacted due to the thyroid dysfunction. So we have to look at what do we do? How do we biohack all of this? And it's not always easy, guys, and it's very individualized. So I do recommend that you connect with somebody to work with them on the nutrients that you need. So our thyroid status affects the expression of the MTHFR gene. We know the MTHFR polymorphism can reduce detoxification of chemicals and affects the immune health. So we know that's how it's going to impact the thyroid, right? If your methylation is not working properly, genes get turned on or turned off, and sometimes we don't want to have that. We don't want to wait till it gets to the bigger, badder thing, right? The big C word. We want to do something now to biohack all of these issues and really be healthy. So I'm going to talk about a few products that the Weiner Wellness Center carries, and you can call them directly and order these at an amazing rate. This is Nutritional Frontiers Women's Complete. This has just been released. It's amazing. And I have to say, this is one of the most complete formulas I've seen on the market to date. And in my 25 years experience as a naturopathic doctor in the field, I love this so much. I've ordered it 3 times for myself, and every time it happened, I gave it to somebody else. So I have to order it again. But let's start with what's in there, right? So first we have B12 as methylcobalamin. Again, you want enough of the ingredient, right? The nutrients that you need in the right forms and nothing else. We don't want any toxicity in here. We already have an issue with detoxification. So this particular product not only works for thyroid health, but it also works to enhance methylation by giving it the right biohacking nutrients that are going to go around the polymorphisms and really fill the gaps of deficiency. So we have the methylcobalamin, but then we also have the quadrifolic. This is made by Gnosis. This is a patented trademark ingredient, and it is the most bioavailable methylfolate on the market. Incredible, incredible product. In here at 800 micrograms, just a wonderful addition to this formula. So again, if you have the MTHFR mutation and you can't take folic acid, which you should not, right? Because we know that can be toxic. This is your product. This is where you want to go. But we're going to further this with the MK Vita 7. Now this is Vita MK7 is, again, another patented trademark ingredient, and you will see a lot of these within the Nutritional Frontiers formulas simply because we have the proven science behind it and the research to really know what it does and how it impacts the body. So very important that we have this Vita MK7 because we're looking at K2 now with cancer studies with women. This is naturally fermented, but also for bone density, guys. This is who delivers calcium to the bones. If you are deficient in your K2, which Vita MK7 is the most bioavailable form of K2, you're going to have your osteoporotic bone issues. You're going to have the joint pain. You're going to have all these things. You're also going to have calcium ending up in the wrong places in the body, maybe in the arteries and veins. So ladies, you really need to have this nutrient. And honestly, you know, Joe Messina always says, good enough, you know, made for a woman. It's I can't even remember how he put it, but it was the old, you know, deodorant commercial where it's like made for a woman, but good enough for a man type of thing. So you can use this, gentlemen, as a nutrient if you want to. It's not going to do anything, but the forms and the amounts are in the right ingredients. And it's really for everybody, although we really specified this for women. We also use the Albion minerals and the Trax minerals. These are bonded minerals, most bioavailable yet again. Of course, we need our calcium and our magnesium. It's in the desired ratio of 2 to 1. So another wonderful benefit to this. And then we have the Ferrocell, which is the patented trademark ingredient of iron. And I know most people worry about iron, especially after menopause. This product you can use from menses all the way through menopause because it's at the right form. And you know, most of the studies when I talk about iron and iron toxicity with women after menopause, again, we got to go back and look at the studies as to when they were done. What's the most recent research done on that? And the form of iron here is extremely bioavailable, but there's not a ton in it. So it's not going to impact you that way. So again, a lot of other things. We have the Vitacholine, which this recycles homocysteine. So again, this is important for our MTHFR people, but also for our thyroid people. We know now that homocysteine can build up if you have a thyroid issue. So you really need to utilize nutrients that are going to help you biohack your body, right? So we have DMG. This is one of my favorites always. Dimethylglycine. This is an oxygenator, but it's also a giver of itself. It creates methyl poles so that your body doesn't have to convert as much B vitamins. It actually makes and creates the methyl groups on its own. So it's a great way that you can biohack nutrients that way. We put a probiotic blend in here specific for women's health, Lactobacillus rhamnosus, also Bacillus coagulans, which again, this is our lactospore, another patented trademarked ingredient. So this is an amazing one for women's health and, you know, just vaginal health in general. And ladies, we really need to keep ourselves healthy with a good probiotic base, not just for our immune system, but it's an identifier. This is part of our neurotransmitter. It helps with mood stability as well through different cycles. So just keep in mind that probiotics not only our immune system function, but their nutrient need identification, and they help with neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, mood. So those highs and lows you may experience, this can be a biohacker for you along with those B vitamins. Okay, superfood blend as well. You know, superfoods was originally used by NASA in the 1960s. So NASA was looking for the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet to keep astronauts nourished in space. Why not use it on Earth, right? So we use the ORAC Whole Food Complex, which is amazing. It's a proprietary blend of cranberry, broccoli, garlic, grape seed extract, wheatgrass, apple pectin, celery seed, chlorella, papaya, and spirulina. Oh my goodness, it's like the Prego, right? It's in there. So this is a great one. I always recommend that if you have a hyperthyroidism, you know, we recommend 150 micrograms a day of iodine for people. Now, a lot of people won't use iodine for Hashis, and that's okay. The Women's Complete is enough, and you can just use that, because sometimes giving additional iodine to an already inflamed thyroid is not the exact way to go. But what I will say is if you reduce the toxicity, you increase the nutrient density of the person, normally what happens is inflammation will decrease. And once we get the inflammatory response to decrease, we can then add more iodine to get up to the 6 to 7 milligrams for the thyroid and the 6 to 7 milligrams for the breast health. So I just want you to keep in mind that while there have been discussions about utilizing iodine for autoimmune issues, while the thyroid's in a state of inflammation, it probably can't absorb it as well anyway. So my thing is, let's get the inflammation down by biohacking around the methylation pathway, which is probably why there's inflammation in the first place. You're not detoxifying, or you're not creating new cells. You know, those are usually the two reasons that we have disease in the body. So once we get past that pathway, we then can add the additional iodine if needed. If not, the Women's Complete has iodine in it at a level that is enough. I do love Thyroid Complete, and I'll use this in stages with people. This is our gland. We use New Zealand glandulars, so they're very clean. They're extremely effective. So when I use the older formula of this in my practice, you know, I would recommend 2 of these in the morning for my clients, and now I only need to recommend 1. So you have to adjust this obviously for your clients and patients, but this particular blend actually will, losing my word, it'll benefit, okay, there's a word I can use, it'll benefit not only the thyroid, but the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the adrenals. So this is a full spectrum across the board, as Joe Messina would say, the fat axis, right? Pituitary, hypothalamus, adrenals, and thyroid. A little bit of something for everything in there. So again, it's glandular tissue. We've used the Trax minerals again. And so this would be a way that I would probably approach somebody that had more extensive thyroid issues along with the Women's Complete, because I'm going to be benefiting and enhancing the methylation pathway with the Women's Complete and the quadrifolic and all the great active form of B vitamins. And then I'm going to piggyback on top of it a glandular for the thyroid and really try to bring the inflammation down and nutrify the body. That's really the goal, and stop the mimicking, right? And stop the toxicity and get the body detoxifying and producing new and healthy cells. We can't talk about thyroid and methylation issues without talking about the adrenals. These are usually under massive stress when there's any type of toxicity in our body. They also, you know, the adrenals, they're constantly going to be pumping out stress hormones, and they're going to get tired and fatigued. The secondary issue is usually the thyroid. So I do like to add this to people that have had long-term thyroid issues. Also, we may be just on the beginning of thyroid issues, right? And you might be able to see that it's actually an adrenal issue versus a thyroid issue. And by simply giving a little bit of iodine, some Women's Complete, and the Adrenomax for a couple of months, that person might have a full recovery and never go into the diagnosis part of thyroid issues. So remember, this is really about timing, the right forms of nutrients, the right amounts that you're giving your clients, and, you know, getting around and removing the barriers to health, which is really what we're talking about today. So then again, crowd favorite, Enter DMG, love it, creates its own methyl pool. As you can see, if we go down this pathway from where we give the supplement of DMG, you can see that it creates and throws off these little methyl bodies into this methyl pool, but it also impacts the homocysteine right here and will convert from homocysteine to glutathione. So not only is it helping you create new and healthy cells, SAMe, so on and so forth, it's helping you detoxify as well. Now again, keep in mind, if people are over-methylating, take a look at the thyroid, take a look at the estrogen levels in the body, and any of the barriers that are creating a barrier to conversion in the methylation pathway. You can't just, oh, I'm over-methylated and I can't take B vitamins, or I'm over-methylated and I can't do this. You have to look around a little bit and see why. Why is your body reducing homocysteine so low that you're not converting enough SAMe? What is the pathway? What's the nutrient deficiency? Could it be FAD? Maybe it's B6, but you have to look around a little bit and maybe add a little bit more of those nutrients to that particular client or patient, or even to yourself. So I do like to piggyback on this B12, because really, guys, B12 is our transporter. He carries everything across all the methyl groups and bodies and kind of makes the magic happen. I call him the conductor of the methylation pathway, right? He gets in there and he tells everybody to go and who to combine with. And so you do need enough, but again, you need the methylcobalamin. You need the right form. If you're taking B12 as a cyanocobalamin or different form, you want to check with your practitioner as to why you're doing that. I would absolutely recommend that you use a methylcobalamin. A great form by Nutritional Frontiers is our Methyl B12 spray, and it tastes delicious. It tastes like cherry. So Fortify, let's talk a little bit about diet and lifestyle, especially if you have thyroid issues or if you have MTHFR mutation. Fortify is dangerous for both thyroid and MTHFR polymorphism. And the reason is this. If you cannot convert folic acid to folate, it becomes a toxin. And if you're looking at things that are fortified, guess what they're fortified with? They're usually fortified with a synthetic form of folic acid. So lifestyle does matter. And simply by changing your lifestyle, eating more organic, whole food, minimally processed, you can have a healthier lifestyle. And then adding the supplementation on top, you can have optimal health over time. So really important that you look at pastas, breads, cereals, even organic, guys, that are processed, those can still be fortified with folic acid. And if you have an MTHFR mutation, you want to avoid those words, fortified with folic acid, right? I would rather see you on a paleo or whole food diet for a period of time. And what I do is therapeutic levels of diets. I don't do them forever. But, you know, just keep in mind that you're always special, and you'll always have to look out for those fortified words in your vernacular. All right, so generations of pharma, right? When we look at gene weakening, and people love to blame their genes. So I am going to give you a little bit of leeway here and say, you know what, your genes could be the issue, but probably not the real issue. It's more lifestyle. It impacts about 98% of our lives, lifestyle changes. But, you know, children are born today with less ability to detox. I think there's somewhere around 300 toxins in the umbilical cord of children. That's really scary. So our kids today are born more toxic and with more chances to become toxic. I mean, look at air pollution and all the things that we've done, the high estrogen, all the pharmaceuticals in our water supplies. So we also are now being born with a decreased ability to methylate B vitamins. And you can go back and look at the impact of glyphosate on the digestive system. It has decreased our ability to convert B vitamins in the digestive system. So even without an MTHFR polymorphism, guess what? You can't even break down B vitamins anymore in your gut because of all the toxicity that we've put in there. So again, very important for you to get the right form of vitamins. You know, buying something at a big box store that are in the wrong forms, you're putting a little bit of toxin in every day, and a little bit of toxicity every day is a lot over a month, is twice as much in 2 months and 3 times as much in 3 months. So just keep in mind, you know, supplements are for everybody, and the right forms and the right ingredients are the most beneficial thing that you can do. So if anything that you've seen here today, you can give the Weiner Wellness Center a call, and they will ship it for free to your house, up to 30% off of everything. So that's an amazing discount. So more iodine's not always better to fill the deficiency, right? So I see practitioners out there, someone comes in with, you know, some sort of thyroid issue and they just pump in the iodine. Is it beneficial? Absolutely. But you need to ask more questions. Is there an underlying MTHFR mutation? If 40 to 50% of our population now has this polymorphism, it would benefit you as a practitioner or even yourself to ask for the test, right? Enhancing methylation with thyroid health is absolute key. You have to biohack around the methylation pathway. And guys, unless you're sleeping optimally, you have absolutely no toxicity in your life, and you've never been exposed to any plastics, you probably have a reduced methylation pathway. And so getting on something like Women's Complete or our Super B Complete, which is another fabulous product that has all the B vitamins in the right form, and you can get that at Weiner Wellness. If you get on something like that, it can enhance your methylation pathway. It can reduce inflammation in your body, all of these things that come with a healthy lifestyle. And that's not, you know, it's not a cure, treatment, or diagnosis, but it's just common studied nutraceutical. And you can go on PubMed and look up all those studies on reducing inflammation through supplementation. Great resource for you to start learning. But enhancing that methylation pathway and thyroid together is a greater pathway to success. Hashimoto's is a multi-nutrient deficiency. It's not just one. You're looking at iodine. You're looking at selenium. You're looking at removing toxicity. You're looking at calming down the methylation pathway and the immune system response. You're looking at balance on so many levels. So please know it's not a one-size-fits-all. You're going to have to adjust these protocols for your individual patients and clients, and also for yourself. So if you need help with anything, you can call the doctors at the Weiner Wellness Center, make an appointment. You can also reach out to me directly. I'm happy to help you in any way, and also working in conjunction with any of your practitioners. So Hashimoto's is a full body disorder which responds well to enhancing methylation and biohacking around mutations. I've had more success with people with particular autoimmune issues by looking at the methylation pathway and utilizing nutraceuticals for that, and over here with their diagnoses and giving nutraceuticals that we know through research and studies will enhance certain functions and systems in the body. So great thing to do together, and you know, you can have a lot of success with these protocols. So a person may feel more energetic when first starting the iodine supplement. So and when we look at the labs and reveal their new energy is coming from actually the destruction of the thyroid. So this is what I was talking about with Hashimoto's. So if you have a very inflamed thyroid and you start pumping in iodine, what happens is the thyroid actually starts to destroy itself because it's so inflamed it can't, and it's almost like a defense. So there's glandular tissue being thrown into the bloodstream. Well, your body then starts getting like nutrients from that and you feel better. But what happens is that you start to build up H2O2, right? Hydrogen peroxide, and then you can't get enough selenium and glutathione to neutralize it because you have this mutation, this MTHFR mutation or a mimicking one. You get excess amount of antibodies and down the spiral we go. So it's not always about pumping in the iodine. It's really about balancing the methylation pathway so that you can utilize the iodine by reducing inflammation and being able to absorb all these awesome nutrients. Because your practitioner's right? You're right. The thyroid needs iodine, but we really want it to get in there, right? Knocking on the door of the house for days and days doesn't let anybody in the house until somebody opens the door. So we need somebody to open the door, and that's really working with the methylation pathway and with the iodine function. Okay, so here's my summary points that I want you to take out, and then I'm going to go through all of these questions. Okay, test for MTHFR. It's really important. It should be a standardized test in your practice, or you should ask for it. A lot of medical doctors will do it. It'll be covered by your insurance. You can do saliva tests as a practitioner, so you don't have to deal with blood or spot blood. There's lots of companies out there that'll work with you. Molecular testing labs is one. You can establish an account and you can utilize those tests. There's other third-party testing places like 23andMe where you can actually have, your data put into a raw data format, and then, all those results come back, and you can optimize your health just by knowing whether or not something is confirmed or not, right? Test for your full thyroid panels. TSH is not enough, okay? You need conversion. You need to look at antibodies. You need to do all that. Optimize methylation protocols as a foundation for anybody. Everybody has methylation pathways in their body. And like I said, unless you live in a bubble and you're sleeping perfect, you're not exposed to toxins, and you've never had an estrogen exposure in your life, well, then you're fine. But that's not any of us walking on this planet. And because 40 to 50% of people are now diagnosed with the polymorphism, there is a good chance, almost 50% chance, that the methylation pathway needs some sort of enhancement, okay? Detoxify when the body is ready. Remember, when you have somebody that's coming in with thyroid issues or methylation issues, their detoxification is down here. You don't want to throw a detox on that person who doesn't have optimal glutathione, whose elimination pathways are not up to par. You want to make sure that you optimize methylation first, maybe over 30 to 90 days, and then take that next step of removing candida, removing parasites, removing metals, because truly they're not going to be able to remove anything if their methylation pathway is low, and they won't be able to create new and healthy cells. Utilize cleansing protocols that still fill the gaps if you are going to detoxify somebody. We have one called Remove Complete. The shake that we use in it has the quadrifolic. It has the right forms of the B vitamins. So as a person or a practitioner watching this, if you're going to do a detox, you have to have the right forms of B vitamins if you have the MTHFR polymorphism. Hands down, you can't do one without it, because you're not going to create enough glutathione, nor are you going to rebuild new and healthy cells. You just can't. So optimize your methylation, then detoxify using the right product to do that. Remove Complete is a wonderful product that we utilize. I love it. And remember, lifestyle and food matters. You really want to take a good hard look at what you're putting into your body, why you're putting it in there, and what to do. So I hope this has helped you. I'm going to take a look at the next one, but I'm just going to post the schedule here real quick as I answer questions. And just to let everybody know who's up next, our very favorite Dr. Sherry Tenpenny. She's going to be discussing vaccine cell lines and why mandatory vaccines should be a big no-no. So this is the impact that these vaccine cell lines have on our health. It's going to be an incredible, incredible lecture. Don't miss it, please. But I'll take it back to the schedule so you can see the rest of the story. And let me just pick up my phone here. Boy, there's a lot of you guys on with me today. Thank you for being here. I know your time is valuable and I appreciate you being with me today. Is there a standard dose of methylfolate that a young child with this mutation could benefit from taking, or do you have to get genetic testing first? No, any good B vitamin is good for kids. Remember, these are water soluble vitamins. And we need, it's kind of like filling your car up with gas every time your engine light comes on, right? Every night, guys, your engine light's on. You need good bioavailable, especially for kids running around. I have 2 little boys. They never sit down, and you'd think I inject them with B vitamins. They have so much energy. Will this video be saved so we can watch again? Of course, it's on the Facebook page. It'll be under the video section. We're also going to convert all these recordings and put them on the Dr. James Weiner YouTube page. So give us a couple of days to do that. They'll all be up there Monday. And as we keep doing these, we'll keep uploading them to YouTube, but you can always come right back here to the Weiner Wellness page, click on the videos, and you can watch any of our past lectures. They're all going to be there for you. Let's see, made for a woman, but strong enough for a man. Thanks, Joe. I could not think of that secret commercial, right? Except minus the aluminum and the detrimental things that could happen from wearing deodorant, right? So can we get a replay of this? Yes, that's going to be on the Facebook page. I promise you guys we're going to leave this on. Marcy Hegman, this is the woman I've been following. This is a virtual, oh, okay. So thank you, Susan. That was really sweet of you to tag your friend and say that. Do you suggest testing for more the genes involved in methylation pathway? Max Gene Lab, Works Panel, looks like many more. Yeah, so there's tons more SNPs coming out. The 3 big ones they studied were the 677, 129, and the heterozygous compound. You're going to see a lot of polymorphisms coming out over the next 5-10 years. So yes, it would be a good thing as a practitioner to starting to study on polymorphisms. You know, some of the areas that I use, Dr. Ben Lynch is a good one. He has a great book called Dirty Genes. You might actually be able to find it at the Weiner Wellness Center. If not, hint, hint, you guys want to pick it up. Yeah, you can be, Lindsay, you can be sensitive to B vitamins because now it's kind of like you're putting B vitamins in there and you're stepping on the gas pedal to your car, right? And your engine's running at 100%. So what I would recommend is you start with lower levels. You start with lower level doses and something that you can control. Also, you want to look at that thyroid health. Okay, so now that you understand that you have the 6-7-17, you're going to have that FAD conversion problem. You can go into an overmethylation. So we need to look at that thyroid next, okay, and making sure that we remove estrogen, we balance the thyroid health, we're getting our diet under control, removing folic acid, taking out heavy metals. You're going to be a process to work with. Okay, let's see. I have Hashimoto's. My full panel is normal except antibodies, which are sky high. My T4 is low. How can I improve T4? I would start with Women's Complete, changing your lifestyle and diet, and reducing inflammation in your body. And sometimes, guys, a good little biohacker that we carry is Inflam or Xflame. Both of those products will help reduce inflammation in the body very, very quickly. And it might just be the little biohack you need for a month or 2 to get inflammation down. And then the nutrient absorption will increase. So remember, there's 7 different ways to skin a cat. Not that I would ever do that. And I kind of hate that statement. Lindsay, it's okay. We're all learning as we go along and you're doing fantastic. If you need any help, just reach out to me on Facebook. Can you schedule blood work for these issues at Weiner Wellness? I'm not sure, but I think they could probably refer you to doctors that they work with that would do blood work for you, or you could go to your primary care physician, get the blood work, and I'm sure Dr. Orbach there would be happy to take a look at it for you, or refer you to somebody that could. So that would be something that maybe Dr. Orbach or somebody from the center could answer on this live stream. So, okay, so to increase T4, as we were saying, you need optimal levels of FAD and optimal levels of methylfolate. So Wendy, I would suggest Women's Complete. Start with that, reduce inflammation, fix your diet, and make sure that you're looking at your exposure to those halogens. Are you drinking tap water, chlorine, bromine, fluoride in your toothpaste? Every little thing's gonna matter right now. And if you're not sure where to start, you know, get in touch with me and I'll get you, we'll get you a little protocol together that you can get from the Weiner Center. And then seeing Jeff or Dr. Honigman or Dr. Orbach there would be a good thing as well. Yeah, currently use Inflam. It's an awesome product. It is an awesome product. And, you know, I did a lecture on that the other day. And I just can't believe all the amazing products that Nutritional Frontiers has, all found at the Weiner Wellness Center, all 30% off. So guys, get on the phone, order what you need, message me on Facebook if you need any help, or call the center and ask to speak with one of the doctors. They're there right now to help you, tailor your program a little bit more. So I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. You've been an amazing audience. I appreciate all your questions. This video is available for playback. Remember, up next, our very favorite, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny is on at 11. So when I stop this video and recording, it will be available right away on the Facebook page. Again, call the Weiner Wellness Center, 412-922-WELL, W-E-L-L, and order your products for free shipping. So guys, I hope you're enjoying this virtual summit. Again, share these videos, tell your friends, get people here, because this is the way that we empower ourselves to take back our health. And there has never been a time in history that we should be more focused on health than right now. So this is your time, guys, and I appreciate everything. So thank you so much, and we'll see you in a little bit. Dr. Sherry Tenpenny coming up.